All right, it is October 13th at 10:43 a.m. This is a Tuesday. Welcome to Stocks and Squats. My name is Jermaine Russell. Thank you for clicking onto my page or clicking onto this video. Essentially, what I want to do is just go over a couple of trades that I have been holding um, from either Friday or yesterday, I think. And I just bought a new position today. So let's kind of dive into it and see what direction do I anticipate. But first, before we do that, please click like or subscribe to my channel so you can get some type of update throughout the week. I'll try to do at least one or two videos during the week so that you can kind of see where I'm coming from when it comes to a lot of these trades. So let's first start to, as you can tell, I have ALT up. ALT was a stock that I was actually trading, buying shares in, uh, literally like days before, and I was waiting for this move. I thought it was going to happen here. I bought here, it didn't happen, so I ended up selling because I was like, okay, it's going to come back down, and I thought it was going to come down to the 200 SMA, which it didn't. And let's, for clarification purposes, as I expand the chart, this teal line up here, this is the 20 SMA. The green line is the 5 EMA, that's exponential moving average. SMA stands for simple moving average. And then this red line is the 200 SMA. Essentially, the reason why I even have these up is to give me a better understanding of where the price could potentially go, right? So here we see that we have the strong candlestick. This was from yesterday. I remember watching it after hours as it was starting to explode, right? So we're looking at it in the after hours for Monday, which was yesterday, and it was just starting to move. It was starting to move actually during the day at 13, and I said, no, don't rush it, just wait. And I waited, and I didn't even, once I closed my laptop and I would start walking away, I don't really pay attention to the movement of the stock. But I did kind of notice this movement yesterday in the after hours where it went up to almost $15. It went to 14.92. Then it pulled back, and then 4 a.m. in the morning, like stocks typically do, they will spike up. They will spike up like a dollar, especially if they had some type of movement the day before. So that's what happened here. And then it continued to that spike around 6 a.m. before coming back down. And as you can see here, it came back down to where? The 200 SMA. This is typically my biggest area of understanding where my risk is. So if I know that I'm going to get into a position and my risk is, and the stock is trading way up here, right? Well, we're going to go back to this time, right? The stock is trading way up here. I know that I would not even want to buy shares nor options in this because the potential of it coming down is so much greater, right? This is like a $2 drop. Why would you even want to risk $2, right? So that's why I have this moving average here to give me that idea. Also, I have the MACD and the RSI. The MACD one, and this is for every time frame, right? You have to really like compare the time frames. So on this time frame, which is 2 minute, but it's pretty much the same as 1 minute. It's just extended out for 5 days. Um, on this 1 minute, on this 2 minute chart, you have a cross here with the MACD. So the MACD actually shows you a change in direction, a change in momentum, I should say. So the momentum shifted from all this selling to now buying momentum. And the buying momentum continued to go as it crossed this x-axis, showing that it still had more upside. And now it's up here, even though it's coming down and coming back down to the x-axis, we are looking to see if there will be another cross in this MACD. So why didn't it sell it after it crossed? That's typically a good question to ask. So it crossed coming down, right? So we see this cross here. But we also see that with the moving average, the prices are battling here, right? Not only is it holding support at this 1550-ish area, but the MACD, the moving averages are battling at this 1587 area, right? 1587, 1582. So if it stays above that 1582, which is the exponential moving average, then the potential of it to go higher will go higher. Um, so this is what we're waiting for. This is what we're looking for. And the next time it goes higher, we're looking for it to actually retest the highs. We're looking for it to retest this 1679, if possible. Now, let's say that some news came out and it started to show red candlesticks. And let's actually go to different time frames, right? So we go to the hour time frame, which I use three main time frames: the day, the hour, and the minute. And we see on the hour time frame, not only is it not overbought, um, but it is finding. See, we see it now, right? As my laptop is starting to slow. It came down. It pulled back 20 cents. Right? I'm just waiting for it to, and that's the one thing. I think it's either my laptop or the connection or the platform. I don't know which one that causes that lag, but either way, we're starting to see that there was some depression in the price for that hour. So this hour right here, um, even though it's green, and there's a lot of green, see there's a lot of buying here. It's a little thin on the candlestick. So I am not 100% sure what it can really do on the upside, but I know that it's green. And I will give it an opportunity in the following hour to not only hold this 1550-ish area, but to see if it can go higher and retest the highs in the 1650s. So that is essentially what I am looking for when it comes to this stock in particular. So with ALT, altogether, this is the chart for the options. The options chart in pricing and everything is slightly different than the stock chart because you don't get a stock price, but that stock price is totally different from the options price. Um, and even though it might look similar, this is the day chart right here. So let's move this to the day chart as well. Even though the charts might look similar, like it had a strong green day after downtrending and consolidation, right? And as you can tell on this chart here, it doesn't extend back that far because it is an options contract for the week. So I bought this today, and this contract will expire on Friday, right? So we're not going to have a lot of days on this, but the movement is still mirrors the same as the stock price. So we see that the stock price on today's date, it says that the options price came up to $1.55. Now this is the level two for it, so it kind of need to have that idea of how options kind of resemble the stock traded price, but kind of doesn't at the same time because as we can see here, there is no 200 SMA, right? There is no 200 SMA. But they do have a purple line. This purple line is like the average price that people are buying the stock, right? Um, and this is the average options price of the stock. They're saying it's 131. I tried getting in at 140, but it wasn't allowing me because you can tell right now the spread is pretty wide. Well, this is only 5 cents, but before it was 30 cents. This was saying 170 and this was saying 140. Even though I put in the order at 140, it wasn't filling. So I ended up getting the order at 150, a dollar and 50 cents. So we see this right now at $1.55. But this is a strong candlestick. And anything that we know about strong candlesticks is that on the first green day, that it has potential upside to go higher, particularly if it's engulfing the previous red candlesticks. Right. So this is something that I would definitely hold going into tomorrow. The biggest thing when you have something that spikes up like this, and we'll go back to the stock chart, is that on the next day you can get a pullback, a red candlestick, right? And that red candlestick is supposed to signify some type of like not sell off, but just kind of squeezing out some weak hands that are short this position. When I say short, that means that they're betting against the stock. So you kind of get that with the when you have a strong green day, but when the stock does open on the day, and if it opens red, like tomorrow, let's say that tomorrow it opens red, um, there's still the opportunity for it to come back up and to go higher. So that is something that we have to look out for on the first potential green day using this strategy. I will go to another stock that I'm um, holding KIRK, right? Even though it came back a little bit, I still wanted to go up higher. I'm holding KIRK and I'm holding also JMIA. This is supposed to be the Amazon of Africa. So let's go to KIRK. Actually, before I go to KIRK, there was a stock that I mentioned in the previous video was MARA, right? And I said that with a bullish engulfing candlestick, because this will lead into what KIRK is doing. I said when you have an engulfing candlestick like this, which is bullish, you have a bullish engulfing candlestick, it tends to go higher, right? Now remember what I just said about having a green day, and that green day, the very next day turns red, right? So I don't know what happened on this because I didn't even look at it. I'm just looking at it now. I remembered mentioning it in the previous video. Um, so right here, if we do an analysis of it, we see that not only on the hour chart, because I tend to like the hour, that there is a pullback, right? There's some pullback because there was a cross here. With that cross, like I said, no matter what time frame, with the cross happening on the MACD, the potential of a stock going towards the 200 SMA is heightened. It doesn't mean it will happen. It just means that the potential of it happening uh, is there. Um, so we see that there's the cross on the MACD. It can come down to 200 SMA, which is at 202, but it's holding the support here in the 230s, right? So we know that it's holding support. Let's go to the minute chart. Let me expand this. I'm sorry, I'm not expanding the chart. So we see right now it's below the 200 SMA, and this is what I love here, right? Because not only did it have a morning panic, which tends to happen. I think that happened to most stocks today. Apple is coming out with stuff, so Apple was red on the open, so Apple is pretty much moving the indices right now. So, but when you have a stock like this that's trading below the 200 SMA, the opportunity for it to retest the 200 SMA is determined upon the volume, obviously. The more volume you have, the better of a chance that it has to go higher. And I did say it was going to go higher. It did, but it only did it in the after hours. It went to $2.70. So the reason why I even like when a stock, at times, not all the time, but when a stock has done its morning panic, and you see that on the RSI it's oversold. So once it bounces off being oversold, it has an opportunity to go higher. And as we see here, it did, right? So it went from 220 to 230. Even though that's 10 cents, it's coming back. But when it's coming back to test the moving average, the 20-day moving average at 230. If it can stay above this moving average of 230, then the opportunity for it to go higher to 200 SMA is heightened again, right? It can consolidate and squeeze towards here before coming up and over the 200 SMA. So that happened with MARA. Remember that, right? As we go back to the year chart and we see that there was pullback for a red candlestick after a bullish engulfing day. Now let's look at KIRK. So KIRK kind of did the same thing, right? It pulled back um, yesterday. It pulled back yesterday after doing things that I thought that it could do. Hold on, let me just check my other position. As it's kind of turning red on the day. Um, I see how it pulled back on the day, but it's still showing that there's some type of upside available. right here. That's what JMIA, the Amazon of Africa, is doing, right? The only issue that I have here is that it is overbought. So at some point or another, I need to figure out when to sell it, and I'll probably figure that out on this video. But let's go back to KIRK. So when I held KIRK, I held it mainly because I saw it, doing this. I saw it still having a potential of going higher, and which it did. So I bought this on my Robinhood account, and the only reason why I said it was going to go higher, even though you know this is very engulfing, right? Um, Even though this came back, it did not go below that 1069 area. Now, if the stock price went below 1069, then I would have an issue because at that point it can retest this 907 area. So what I tend to do, right? I go from day to hour to minute. And yesterday, when I was looking at it on the hour, it was showing that not only did it cross on the MACD, right, and but it was also showing that on the last hour of the day that it was a green candlestick. Why do I keep on mentioning these candlesticks? They're very important for understanding um, direction of buyers and sellers. If you know that a candlestick is red, obviously it's coming down, but the type of candlestick, whether it has a wick or it doesn't have a wick, or if it has a full body, or if it doesn't, like this is a full body, right? If it doesn't have a full body, like this, you get a sense of the direction that the stock can go. So when this 20 SMA was coming toward the 5 EMA, the only thing that could happen here is that it would either consolidate to go up or consolidate to go down. So with that being said, as we take a zoom out, we see that it came down from back here, kind of came up and then pulled back, and you see it's underneath the 200 SMA. So because it's underneath the 200 SMA, it still didn't get any more upside. It pulled back, and it didn't go overbought either on the hour. So it was probably overbought on the minute chart. But essentially, it pulled back. And when it pulled back to consolidate near the 200 SMA. So when all the moving averages converge together, this is where you tend to get more upside, right? And I think actually WAFU was starting to show that yesterday, right? Oops, sorry. WAFU. So with WAFU, and I know I'm going a little off track, but I just want you to get a sense of the moving averages consolidating before it spiked. Moving average consolidate and then it spiked. I mentioned this in my group chat. Some people were able to jump in, some weren't. I end up teaching a yoga class, so I couldn't even watch it at this junction. But I knew it was going to go up because I saw that the moving averages were starting to merge together. So that's a very powerful tool that you will have to use if you know that you know this was a previous spiker, which it did. You know that the moving averages were coming together. I was seeing this when it was around $2.30, maybe $3, I think it was. It was like right around here because I remember seeing it near its resistance before breaking four. So as you can tell, like that would be something that I would have gotten in on if I had the ample time. And as you can see, it pulled back the very next day. This is what you would tend to get on stocks that have a strong green day, right? Like ALT has a strong green day. Next day, it might pull back. It might be red, right? Here, it's showing that it's green, even though it's a red. It's a red day, right? You have some sell-off, red volume, right? And the volume is probably very low too. It's probably it's 1.5 million versus yesterday's volume, which was 14 million. So you're going to get drastic pullback on low volume. So back to KIRK, right? As KIRK continues to move up higher. How is ALT doing? 1580. That's fine. So let's go to KIRK, and we see that KIRK is doing those doing the things that I would anticipate it doing, which is not only did it engulf here, it had a little pullback. It tested the SMA, no, the EMA, sorry, the 5 EMA, and then it continued to go a little bit higher here today. Now, it did show some weakness in the early morning, right? Um, like I said, I think most stocks were selling off in the early morning prior to coming back up. Now, why did I hold this? Once again, you see this on the minute chart, and let me just pull up the options chain I have. I think it's this one because it's so different on Robinhood. Yeah, the $10 calls. Um, it's a little different on Robinhood. You don't get this whole option chain like you do on a traditional platform. Robinhood just kind of gives you some options to choose from, and then you can take it from there essentially. But and it's very good. It's like Robinhood. Actually, I was not a big fan of Robinhood, and I started using it, and I'm a fan of it because of its explanation of options. Um, so essentially, in the morning time, and I'm gonna wrap this video up probably in the next 5 minutes. But in the morning time, you see that it not only was trading below the 200 SMA, but it was also finding support. And this is why it's so important to find where your support and resistance reside on the chart itself. Because, me in a past life probably would have sold this because I'm like, oh man, it's going down, and then sold it as opposed to being patient and waiting. It was holding this 260, 1060, sorry, 1060 area. Um, Even back here, it tapped it, right? It tapped it back here, tapped it on this day, right? And maybe even when we go back a little bit further, let's see if 1060 was touched at all. Yep, like right around here, right? So, and it broke down right here. So we see that 1060 is a good spot for it to be at, right? And not only that, but we're also seeing this engulfing candlestick right here, right? And we're also seeing it here on the options chart. So this is why I figured to hold it because there's so much bullish activity that's happening here, right? With incoming volume, Citron saying don't. No, it wasn't Citron that said it on this stock. It was on the JMIA. But like when you have so many different catalysts that are suggesting that, when I say the catalyst, the moving averages, uh, the MACD, the RSI, not overbought. It is overbought on the stock chart, but not overbought on the options chart. Maybe it goes to $3. I hope it does, right? Like when you have all these little factors that add in, like it makes it so much easier to put the pieces together of this big puzzle to understand where the price could go and and anticipating its movement, right? Like I said, I wanted to retest this 1260 so bad. Um, so hopefully it can do that. And let's go to JMIA. Now it's still kind of red. It's still kind of red. I'm not on the red on the day, I should say. Right. I already got in on this. I think this was yesterday. How long I've been holding this? I've been holding this for I think at least 2 days. Let me go to the actual option chain. Let's see. When did I buy you? I bought the 11 calls at 95 cents. Now it's finding it's finding that resistance at the 1240 area, and it's now starting to pull back. So this is a perfect opportunity to really explain why I would even sell this. So let's bring up the options chart just so you can kind of see. And this 11 a.m. time, this is typically where you have more. Like if a stock has already been up, it will pull back during this time, right? During that 10:30 to 11 a.m. time, typically you have a stock that will that will either continue its uptrend after having a morning panic, or it will just go flat until, as long as it had its like 5% increase, it will continue to be that like flat type of trading price until noon. And noon is where, if a stock was running before, it will run more. And it is like hungry hippo during the lunchtime. It will run higher. So, something like this I would hold now, because even though it had its pullback on the minute chart, you remember what I said about the last, you know, was it MARA and KIRK, and now we see JMIA doing the same thing, where it had a red day, or it's on a red candlestick. You're seeing it both on the stock chart and on the options chart. It pulled back, and then it's going to pull up. And if it doesn't pull up today, it will pull up tomorrow. Um, but I don't want to be too conceited about that, because it is overbought on the year chart. So let's analyze it. Hour chart. What we have so far. This hour has started for the past 9 minutes. So, and it's finding that breaking and holding above 1242 is becoming a nuisance, right? So the the 20 SMA is at 1201. So let's say that this stock tests 1201, which it possibly could do, right? Because there was a cross back here. So it could test 1201. And if it tests 1201 and stays above 1201, then more than likely the next hour it's going to have an opportunity to go a little bit higher, right? But it would have to test it first. Like, that's according to the hour chart. So we go to the minute chart. The minute chart, what's happening? It's not only below the 200 SMA, it's not even oversold yet. Um, and it's not even oversold yet. Meaning, and there was a cross on the MACD, meaning that, hey, this can go exponentially lower because it's not oversold. If it was oversold, then I would not even worry. I would just wait for it to go from oversold to not oversold, and just rebounding to go up higher. So hopefully this makes sense. If you learn anything, please, once again, like or subscribe to my channel. I try to give some type of, explanation to the positions that I have, that I hold. Um, and, this one, like I said, with JMIA, Citron said, do not short this, right? Yeah, that was another reason why I was like, hey, I was looking at buying this before, but Citron tweeted it wouldn't short, that it wouldn't short the company, just because it felt like that it had all of its negativity behind it, right? So this is another reason why I would still consider trying, staying on to hold it. I'm not planning on really selling it until like later on in the week. Maybe it gets to 247 when I want to sell it. But I'm looking at an opportunity, to really find exponential gains here. And if it doesn't get smushed by this 200 SMA, then, then it can go up higher and test it. But if this 200 SMA continues to smush it, then we're going to have issues. But we're looking for this cross here. You see that? This cross is happening. You see this bounce off the RSI, so it's going higher. Or it potentially, the probability of it going higher. Because this is not an exact science. This is just parts and pieces that you're putting together to create a strong thesis. So parts and pieces to create yourself a strong thesis. So let's keep that momentum going. Let's keep that energy going. If you have any questions, comments, that you would like to leave, please, put it in the comment section below. And as always, thank you so much for watching and listening. I will continue to talk, but I'm 30 minutes in, and I said I was only going to make it 15 minutes. So, but you got an example of like 3 different stocks, maybe 4. So hopefully all 3 of these very, very much so help you in uncovering your own trading strategy.